Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to June's Cook Along Kitchen. If we haven't yet met, my name is Shannon Parks. I'm your on-site health coach with UMR and a registered dietitian by trade. I bring these yummy, healthy recipes via Cook Along Kitchen to you all every month, and I'm really excited about this recipe because it is perfect for summer. I don't know about you guys, but I do not want to go home and turn on the stove or the oven. It is just too hot outside. And I saw a forecast that over the next 90 days, the low will be 91 degrees. So a no cook meal is right up my alley. And I'm sure you might feel the same. This recipe is packed with plant based proteins, tons of vitamins and minerals. All farm fresh produce that you would find in season right now, which is even better. And it comes together in a jiffy. It's perfect for your backyard barbecues, a quick and easy lunch meal, or a side dish to a nice, healthy, lean grilled protein. I'm thinking like salmon on the grill or a lean chicken breast, even. Or you could partner this with some more beans. We're going to be using a type of beans, but you could always put some more beans or grilled seared tofu on the side. So let's go ahead and get started. And I will say this recipe comes to me from a dear friend. So I'm really excited to introduce you to this no cook zesty summer salad. Now, let's talk about our ingredients first. You know, I love to cover what we're going to be using. So, for the base of our salad, we are going to be using about a half of this jalapeno pepper. You could always use more if you wanted it to be more spicy, less spicy. I'm going to take the seeds and the ribs out of this pepper to make it a little bit more mild. I'm going to use it sparingly in my recipe today simply because I'm preparing this for an office and people have different taste and spice thresholds. I am a wimp when it comes to spice, so use at your own risk. But we've got jalapeno. We're also going to be adding in diced red onion. Now, you guys know I do not like to cry on camera. So I have purchased pre-diced onions. I'm going to dice them even smaller than this, almost to a mince, just to make it a nice clean bite in the salad. Obviously, you don't have to get pre-diced, but convenience is key when you don't want to cry on camera. So I've got some diced red onion here. We're also going to be adding fresh cilantro to that. So I've got this here. I wish I could have clipped it from my garden, but my cilantro is it's gotta grow again. I've cut so much of it. We've got two firm ripe avocados here. Now, a lot of you I'm sure thinking avocados are ripe for about 30 seconds, and you wouldn't be wrong about that. Here's how to choose a firm, ripe avocado. Obviously, by touch, you want it to be a little bit soft, but if you pop off the little nub here on the end, and let me get close to the camera, you can see this. It has like usually has a little nub here. If you pop that off, it should be brown. That's going to signal that it's ripe. If it's green, it's not yet ripe. And if it doesn't come off, it's definitely not ripe. So both of these have little brown nubby spots. And I know that that means that they are ripe and ready. So we'll be using both of these avocados as well. I have an English cucumber here. That's the long and skinny cucumbers. Um, and this will be a part of our salad, as well as these cherry tomatoes and edamame beans. Now, I did choose frozen shelled edamame beans. Um, and I have steamed them just in a bowl of water. I microwaved them for about a minute to get them not frozen anymore. So we've got those. Now, our salad dressing for this salad is going to be lime juice as well as lime zest. We're going to add to it avocado oil as our base, which I love because it's an anti-inflammatory or non-inflammatory oil. We'll be using a little bit of honey. So I've got honey here, garlic clove, and we'll grate that and we'll talk about why we're grating the garlic clove instead of mincing it. A little bit of salt and some cumin spice, and that'll be our dressing. So let's get started, shall we? We'll start by making our dressing. So I've got a small bowl here. And to this bowl, I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of lime juice. Now I've got my juicer here. I like to roll the fruit under the palm of my hand before I juice it. It just kind of releases some of the juices that are stored in the fruit. Certainly not necessary, but I feel like I get a little bit more juice out of it when I do that. So we'll be rolling this under my palm. I'm giving it a pretty medium to firm pressure as I roll it, really trying to release some of those juices in there. Now, let's cut this baby in half. And I'm gonna just squeeze this whole lime right into this small bowl. That'll give me about 3 tablespoons. It is I would say a medium-sized lime. And when you're choosing a lime at the grocery store, if you're gonna be juicing it especially, we wanna be mindful that it's a little bit soft to the touch. You don't want the super, super firm limes. Those are better for like a garnish, but we want something that's able to give us a little bit of juice here. So, all right, we've squeezed our lime in there. I'm going to be adding 3 tablespoons of avocado oil. Now, you heard me say earlier, this is a non-inflammatory oil, and that's part of why I love it. So, out in the world of food and processed foods, I should say, there are tons of inflammatory oils. All of your seed oils, all of like your grape seed, your rapeseed, your canola oil, soybean oil, all of those oils are really inflammatory in the body. And what a lot of people don't realize is that inflammation is the root of many diseases, if not all diseases. So when I recommend oil, I recommend avocado oil, especially for cooking or grilling. This does not smoke at a high heat. So if we were to use this oil at home, I often use an organic avocado oil at home when I'm cooking. A lot of people say, but what about olive oil? Olive oil has a lower smoke point, meaning it's going to start smoking at a lower temperature than avocado oil. And once that oil starts smoking, it actually becomes really not so great for us. So all the health properties kind of go out the window. So olive oil is reserved for marinades and dressings or drizzling on top of things. Avocado oil is great for cooking, dressing, drizzling, etc. And then the third oil that I would recommend is coconut oil. And coconut oil has a pretty high smoke point as well. So as I said, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of avocado oil to the bowl. Now this measure, it's so unique. It's a 2 tablespoon measure. So I'm using 1.5 roughly. All right, so we've got our lemon, or not lemon, we've got our lime juice and our avocado oil in there. We're also going to add 2.5 teaspoons of honey. Now you can get whatever kind of honey you like or whatever you have access to. It certainly does not have to be any sort of like flavored honey. You know, they've got like the orange blossom honeys and things like that. Whatever you have is fine. This is just a regular clove honey. And if you are unfamiliar with, what exactly does that mean with all the flavorings, it's actually what the bees are pollinating on. And this is a 1/2 teaspoon. So I'm going to be doing 4 of these. Well, 5 actually, because it calls for 2.5 teaspoons of honey. Perfect. Okay. So we've got our honey in there. Now I'm going to grate a clove of garlic. So the reason that we're grating this, when we use garlic, when we prepare garlic, the various ways that we can prepare it have a big impact on the taste. So grating it or mincing it gives it a little bit more bite, whereas slicing it or buying it already pre-minced, like in the jar, it's not going to have as much of a bite. The reason for this is because when you grate it or basically when you smash the garlic, what happens is it releases an enzyme, and that enzyme is what gives it the bite. So you might notice that sometimes when, if you slice garlic, it doesn't seem as spicy versus if you were to say smash it and then chop it or mince it or something like that. So I'm going to be grating this. And I've got a little grater here. You could totally use a box grater too, if that's what you have access to. Had somebody at a cooking demo earlier, it was last week or earlier this week, that said, hey, can I just use my box grater? And I said, absolutely. Just make sure you're using the small hole side. The smallest, finest grate here is what we're looking for. We want to take any big chunks out. We got a pretty nice amount of garlic out of that. And a little chunk fell in. So we're going to take that guy out because we want this to be as smooth as possible for our dressing. All right, so we've got our garlic in there. Now I'm going to add just a pinch of salt and a little bit of cumin as well to round out our dressing. Quarter teaspoon of cumin, which gives it a nice smoky flavor. It's going to balance out the honey really well. All right. So I'm going to give this a good mix, kind of emulsify everything. Now, since it's a dressing, it's not very pretty. Not much to show, but I will bring it around and show you all kind of what it looks like now that I've mixed it up. Alrighty, so get my spoon out of the way and we'll tilt the camera down. You can see that looks like it's good. All right, so we've got a nice good dressing going. Let's move some of these tools out of the way and get our salad itself prepared. So I am going to put on some gloves because I'm going to be dealing with jalapeno. And I don't know about you all, but having jalapeno oil on your hands, somehow I always end up touching my eyes. And then my eyes burn for the rest of the day. We don't want that. So I slip on some nitrile gloves here. I think this is the easiest way to deal with jalapenos because it seems like no matter how much you scrub your hands after you cut a jalapeno, the oil just loves to stick around. Alrighty, so let's take our jalapeno. I've got a little paring knife here. I'm going to cut this in half. Like I said, I'm kind of using this sparingly for this recipe. If you are a spice lover, man, have at it. You could add this whole jalapeno if you wanted to. And now I'm just going along the inside of the rib here. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, let me come around and show you. So the rib is these little white parts inside of the jalapeno. I'm just cutting those out, as well as the seeds. The ribs and seeds are the spiciest part of the jalapeno pepper. We want to get those guys out of there. So it's a little bit more palatable. Make sure we get all of our little seeds, no little seeds left behind here. Perfect. All right. I'm trying to make sure they get off my gloves too so they don't end up in the dish. All right, perfect. Okay, so I have de-seeded and de-ribbed my jalapeno, and now I'm gonna slice it into really thin strips and then cut it across in like a mince type cut. Now I will say, the bigger the jalapeno, I believe it's the more mild that they are. Um, And if anybody else on here has a different experience, please speak up. But I feel like it's the bigger they are, the more mild they are. If you're looking for a really mild one, or you could just use a minimal amount, totally up to you. This recipe is versatile in that way. Okay, so we've got it cut into like a matchstick almost, and now I'm just gonna give it a really small mince cut. Again, this is so that nobody eating this salad today gets like a whole mouthful of jalapeno because I don't think that they would like that very much. Jalapeno is great. It has anti-inflammatory properties. Capsaicin, if you've ever used like capsaicin cream, that's actually the hot part of a hot pepper like a jalapeno or any other hot pepper. And so they're really healthy for you for that reason. They are naturally anti-inflammatory. I'm going to set a little pinch of this jalapeno off to the side for garnish to make my salad pretty at the end. But the rest of this is going to go into this medium mixing bowl. I cannot wait. I'm actually going to make this salad for my family over the weekend for a cookout that we're having. All right, now we've got a third cup of diced onion going in. I do have a 1/3 measuring cup here, so I'm going to use that just for accuracy sakes, you could totally eyeball it. And then, like I said, I'm going to cut these onions a little bit smaller because they're pretty big dice on these, and I want them to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more uniform in comparison to the other components that I'm putting into my salad. That's one of the things when you're preparing a salad. The goal is to have all of your ingredients a similar bite size. So that way you don't have, these big, like if we're making a leafy salad, this big leaves of green leafy vegetable and teeny tiny bites of onion or tomato or whatever the case may be. Want to have a really nice uniform size bite. So that way we can get a little bit of everything yummy on one bite of the fork or spoon or whatever you're using. All right, just giving these a nice smaller mince here. Again, so that nobody gets just a mouthful of red onion. That's not pleasant. All right, that's looking good. I'm gonna add this right to my bowl here. Now I'm going to add about a quarter cup of cilantro. And I have this fun little dish. I actually made this at a pottery class. You can purchase these online. This is an herb dish. And what you see here is it's got 3 little holes. So I'm going to take my cilantro and I'm just going to pull it through probably the larger hole. And it is going to destem my cilantro for me and leave behind the leaves that I want. Actually, we're going through the medium hole. So you can see I've just threaded it through there. And I'm just going to pull it through and it's going to leave behind the leaves. How convenient, right? Saw that online and then I thought, oh my gosh, I have to make one of those. That is so fun and so convenient for herbs. So I am going to de-stem about a quarter cup, like I said, of this cilantro. Now, cilantro is really awesome too, has a lot of medicinal properties. Cilantro is really good for our heart health and full of antioxidants. So, just really good for us overall. Does anybody here have an appreciation for cilantro? Feel free to come off mute and let me know. When I first started eating cilantro as a kid, I remember I thought it tasted like soap. And that is actually a genetic thing. What's interesting is I don't know if my taste buds have adapted or what, but over the years, it no longer tastes like soap to me. But that is a genetic thing, which is kind of funny to think about that for some people, cilantro tastes like soap. If you were one of those people, you could probably easily omit cilantro from this recipe. But if you're not one of those people, I would definitely encourage you to keep the cilantro in because it adds such a nice medicinal property to the dish, but it also adds just such good flavor. Try and have little kids, as you know, if you've been hanging out with me for any amount of time, and trying to teach my kids that herbs are good for us and that we like them. So they're getting used to seeing more fresh herbs in our meals at home, especially since we're growing them in the garden this summer, which has been so fun. Anybody here grow herbs at home? They're super easy to grow. They can grow in a pot or in a garden bed. Really easy to grow. Cilantro itself loves lots of sunlight. Oh, I think somebody was going to come off mute.
Yes, it's Kim. I have a little bit of basil. That's what I've been successful with.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And you have your basil in the sun, Kim?
I do.
Yeah, basil and cilantro both love sun. And basil, interestingly, if you grow it, it will come back year after year. You just have to make sure that you let it seed. So basil's one of those. I feel like it's pretty easy to grow here in Florida with the temperatures that we have. So, all right, y'all, we're getting there. Kim, do you have one of these cute little herb de-stemming dishes too to go with your basil?
I do not, but I think I need to make one or get one.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun to make. Made it at the Muddy Potter in Dunedin,
Okay.
supporting local business. All right, so we've got about a quarter cup here. Oh, and then this is an aside about this little dish, but you can also, I put like a little M. That's my fiance's last name. It starts with M. But this you can use to grate garlic on here too, if you wanted to, which is really neat. So if you see these, you can buy this online and get them on Amazon if you don't want to make your own. And they have like cute little patterns inside that allow you to grate like garlic or ginger or something like that, which is really nice. So all right, chopped fresh cilantro. I'm going to set a little bit of this aside too to garnish. And then the rest of it is going into the dish. There we go. Oh, it smells so good. I love it. All right, let's get our avocados cut. So the avocado, we are going to go with just an easy dice on the avocado. And if your avocado is not as ripe as, say, you want it to be or need it to be, putting it on the counter helps. If it is on the verge of overripe, sticking it in the fridge helps. I've also put them in a bag with banana, and the gases that the banana releases helps to kind of speed up the ripening process of the avocado. So that's a fun little trick too. If your avocado, like I said, I think they're ripe for about 30 seconds, and there's tons of memes about that on the internet, which is just so funny. All right, in the dish we go. After an avocado. So not only is avocado healthy fat, which we need in our diet, but it's really rich in magnesium. And if you've ever talked to me about nutrition before, you know I always say magnesium is my favorite mineral because it serves the body in so many different ways. But the avocado is really rich in magnesium, and it's also really rich in fiber. So that's going to help us feel fuller longer from this meal, which is never a bad thing. Help reduce unnecessary snacking between meals when we have enough fiber at our meals. And this avocado is so ripe, I can just peel the skin right off. Sometimes you need to get a little spoon to wedge between the flesh and the skin of the avocado. Now, I will be taking all of these little scraps home with me, and they'll go right into my compost bin. But there are other places around the county I know that accept compost. LJ was telling us about that on a previous episode of Cook Along Kitchen. Is LJ on today? I don't think so. I don't think I saw them registered. All right. So we've got 2 avocados going in here. Next, I'm going to do half of this English cucumber. Get a good dice on that as well. This recipe is just so fresh. I love all the fresh ingredients. It's perfect for the summer. I love an avocado salad in the summer. I often make one kind of similar to this with avocado, tomato, and cucumber, and some lemon juice on it and a little bit of salt. And that is just so refreshing in the summer. I love that salad too. Oh, and a little bit of either olive oil or avocado oil. Now, I've quartered this cucumber again, trying to get similar bite size, especially to my avocado, since these are the bigger parts of my salad. Got a half of a cucumber, English cucumber going in. Just making sure all my pieces are not, my pieces stuck together here. Beautiful. All right. And we're going to do, I'd say about a handful or so. Y'all know I love to measure with my heart. A handful or so of these cherry tomatoes. We're going to have them. Now, I've seen some fancy tricks online where people will put like a plate or something and then they'll have all of them at once. I have not mastered that trick. So if you have mastered that trick, I might need to have you on as a guest for Cook Along Kitchen because That looks just so easy, but I have not been able to successfully do it without cherry tomatoes rolling everywhere. So it's funny to think about. I'm gonna just do a couple more here just to even out our salad. Cherry tomatoes are full of lycopene. Lycopene is a antioxidant as well. Antioxidant is probably my favorite word on this show. We talk a lot about antioxidants, and what they do is they clear out the bad and damaged cells from our body. Okay, so we've got our cherry tomatoes in there. Now I'm going to add in the edamame. Now I added this edamame to the recipe to bring some protein into the dish. And this is about a half of a cup of edamame. And I am just trying to gather it out of the water. I steamed it in here so that it doesn't make my salad wet. All right, perfect. Good. Okay, so let me slip off the gloves here. I'm going to give my salad base a mix, and then we'll add our dressing to it. Let me bring this around and show you all the beautiful colors. Now, the thing with this salad, because we're using avocado, you got to be really careful that you don't overmix it, because then you have guacamole, right? Or something close to it. So just be mindful that we're not overmixing. We're just kind of gently turning the ingredients together here. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that looks so yummy. Look at all the colors. How beautiful, right? All right, let's get some dressing on here. I'm going to start with maybe about half of our dressing. We don't want to overdress your salad. Now, I did do the nutrition information on this salad for you all, and it is 6 servings for this salad. Calories are 180 calories, 15 grams of healthy fats from the avocado and avocado oil, 0 milligrams of cholesterol, which is awesome. This is a completely plant-based meal. We love that. Roughly 400 milligrams of sodium from the salt that I added. You could totally omit salt if you wanted to. 11 grams of carbohydrates with 5 grams of fiber and 3 grams of protein. So here is our finished product. Let's spoon a little bit onto a plate. We'll give it a little garnish with some cilantro. I'm not going to personally garnish mine with a jalapeno, but hey, other people will have access to that if they'd like to do so. This looks so good. I cannot wait to dive in. Wow, yum. Fresh, yummy, easy. Like less than 30 minutes. That's so awesome. Look at that. There's our fresh plate. How nice would that be next to a piece of grilled salmon, seared tofu, grilled chicken, or even on its own? I love it. I cannot wait to eat this. A big shout out and thank you to my dear friend for allowing me to share this recipe with you all. Until I see you again, this has been another great episode of Cook Along Kitchen. Come back next month. We are making a Thai inspired chicken salad. Not like the chicken salad with the mayonnaise and all of that, like a salad Thai inspired with chicken on it. So come back for that one. I can't wait to see you again soon. Happy summer.